You know, if it's one thing I've learned researching the paranormal, it's never let your researcher go alone. You never know when they might come back and build something that brings the creatures from beyond the veil through our world. But for the next few minutes, let us pretend I did send my researcher out alone and he went missing in the desert while investigating an unsettling humming noise. Let's dive right in. Our story begins in the high desert town of Taos, New Mexico, a place where artists and mystics come to escape the modern world. But for some, even this isolated community holds too many painful memories. It was the late 1940s and rumors swirled around a mysterious sinkhole that suddenly appeared on the outskirts of town. Locals called it Devil's Throat, and soon whispers began circulating about disturbing sounds emanating from within. Many who dared venture too close claimed to hear a low, constant humming, an unnatural vibration that seemed to penetrate their very bones. Others reported seeing strange lights flickering at the edge of their vision. For now, these tales remained confined to local legend, dismissed as the ravings of tired imaginations, or perhaps a touch of mountain madness. However, as the decades rolled on, the unsettling murmurs persisted, refusing to be silenced. In the year 2000, residents began to complain about the return of the hum. This time, however, the complaints reached such a fever pitch that the town's mayor called upon the scientific community for help. Enter Dr. Margaret Thorne, a renowned neuropsychologist specializing in perception and consciousness. Eager to make sense of this perplexing phenomenon, Margaret embarked on a journey to Taos. What she would uncover would challenge the boundaries of human understanding forever. Arriving in Taos 6 months after the town's mayor had contacted her about mysterious complaints, Margaret had no way of knowing she was about to become the latest victim of a phenomenon that had been quietly driving residents to madness for decades. She checked into the La Fonda Hotel, the same room the mayor had occupied before her. But moments after settling in, she heard it. The low, persistent hum seemed to emanate from the very walls. It was 2:47 a.m., and she had no idea she was about to become the latest victim of a phenomenon that had been quietly driving residents to madness for decades. Her first interview was with Linda Kowalski, a pottery artist whose life was being destroyed by the phenomenon. It started 6 months ago, Linda whispered, her hands trembling as twisted shapes formed on her pottery wheel. I can hear it everywhere, following me. When I hear it clearly at night, I see vast underground chambers, tunnel networks stretching beneath the town. And in those tunnels, there are beings that have been waiting so long they've forgotten what the surface looks like. The clay took on malevolent spiral shapes as Linda continued. They're tall and thin, with skin like wet stone. No faces, just deep cavities. They're building something that needs human minds to complete. Dr. Margaret Thorne felt the hairs on the back of her neck rise. She had come to Taos ready to dismiss the locals' claims as mere hysteria, but Linda's fervent eyes and trembling hands hinted at something more. With Linda's tale echoing in her ears, Dr. Thorne delved deeper into the mystery. She discovered that she wasn't the first to chase this elusive sound. Before her, 2 other researchers had come to Taos, each hoping to unravel the enigma, only to vanish without a trace. Dr. Richard Fleming, a respected physicist from MIT, had arrived full of scientific skepticism, only to leave in defeat after just 2 weeks. His colleagues found his final notes scrawled on a piece of paper, barely legible and filled with frantic scratches. "It's not a sound," he wrote, "it's a summons." After Fleming's departure, Dra. Elena Bosquez, psychologist specializing in sensory perception, took up the challenge. Yet she, too, succumbed to the enigmatic hum, found catatonic in her hotel room, having spent days scratching bizarre geometric patterns into the walls. But perhaps the most unsettling case was that of Dr. Jonathan Hayes, an anthropologist and archaeologist who'd hoped to shed light on the phenomenon's origins. He'd recorded his experiences on audio logs, his voice growing increasingly frantic as the weeks passed. "The sound isn't coming from underground," he stated in his final transmission. "It's coming from underneath reality itself." There's something vast and terrible waiting just beyond our perception, and it hungers for something the earth cannot give." His transmissions abruptly ended, leaving behind an eerie silence that sent chills down the spines of those who listened. As Dr. Thorne pieced together the fragments of their investigations, she couldn't shake off a growing sense of dread. Each researcher had been driven to the brink in their own way, consumed by the very phenomenon they'd sought to understand. Could she, a woman who prided herself on her rational and logical approach, resist its pull? Thomas Brightwater, a stoic Pueblo elder with skin like weathered leather and eyes that held centuries of stories, provided chilling context for the modern researcher's descent into madness. According to his grandfather, a medicine man revered by his tribe, the area surrounding Taos was once home to the Navajo, a group of beings that existed between our world and the unseen realms. These beings, known as the Hollow Ones, were said to inhabit vast underground chambers in the earth, chambers that resonated with the frequencies of the human mind. The Navajo, with their keen perception of the unseen, realized the danger these resonant frequencies posed. They understood that the hum was a siren call, a lure designed to ensnare the consciousness of unsuspecting humans. To protect their people, the Navajo elders declared the caves forbidden, sealing away their existence with powerful rituals and incantations. Unfortunately, their efforts proved futile. Time eroded the memory of these warnings, and the curious or desperate continued to seek out the humming caves, unknowingly reopening the door to the unseen. Decades later, in 1947, a sinkhole suddenly tore open on the outskirts of town. Locals named it Devil's Throat, unaware of the horrors it concealed. From that moment on, the humming returned, growing steadily louder. Beings from the other side of reality drawn to the vibrations began to stir, sensing a new opportunity to cross over. Their hunger, an insatiable craving for human consciousness, compelled them to seek out those receptive to their insidious song. With renewed determination, Dr. Thorne focused on mapping the patterns of the hum's occurrence. She studied the cases of those who'd come before her, searching for a connection, a key to unlocking the puzzle. Her investigation led her to an old geological report mentioning unusual electromagnetic readings near Devil's Throat. Armed with this insight, Dr. Thorne secured advanced instruments, capable of detecting even the subtlest variations in the Earth's electromagnetic field. As the days turned into weeks, her team toiled tirelessly. Then breakthrough came. Dr. Thorne discovered a correlation between certain sound frequencies and subtle shifts in the Earth's magnetic field. The hum was a complex composition of overlapping frequencies, each resonating at specific intervals. Astonishingly, her instruments revealed that these frequencies were spiraling outward from Devil's Throat, forming an intricate web of energy that permeated the surrounding area. The implications were profound. Devil's Throat, with its ominous name, was not merely a geographical feature. It was a gateway, a breach in the fabric of reality. The humming sound wasn't just an auditory phenomenon. It was a carefully orchestrated symphony designed to manipulate human consciousness. And the composer was something sinister, something from beyond our perception, patiently waiting for the perfect harmony to usher itself into our world. As her understanding grew, so did the danger she faced. For the hum was not just a passive lure, it was a living entity, a probing fingertip testing the defenses of our reality. And it had chosen Taos, New Mexico, as its point of entry. Now the question was, how do you stop a sound that's not quite real, a vibration that exists on frequencies beyond our normal perception, a summons that's managed to drive some of the brightest scientific minds insane? What do you think Dr. Thorne did? Let me know in the comments below. Are you enjoying this horror anthology series? If so, please subscribe. It really helps the channel. And don't forget to check out the bonus content. Thanks for watching. The wind howled like a banshee as Dr. Sarah Chen scrambled down the precipice. Below her, the New Mexico desert stretched under an endless sky. Her quarry, a narrow chasm known as Devil's Throat, seemed to mock her with its unfathomable depth. But Sarah was not deterred. She had followed the trail of clues from her mentor, Margaret Thorne, who'd been found wandering Taos in a catatonic state 3 days ago. Margaret's story was etched in her hidden research notes, a terrifying tale of ancient beings harvesting human creativity through manipulation of dimensional frequencies. Sarah was a quantum acoustics specialist at Los Alamos. Her colleagues believed her theories on the nature of reality were pure pseudoscience, so when she brought the findings to her boss, Dr. Marcus Webb, she expected nothing more than ridicule. Yet Webb surprised her by showing her own classified files of worldwide incidents. He spoke of Bristol, England in 1979, rural Australia and Indiana, creative individuals suffering simultaneous breakdowns, all describing identical underground visions. Something is targeting human creativity, he said grimly, becoming more sophisticated each year. Webb had taken his own quantum sensors into the field and recorded what she needed to hear. Signals existing in multiple dimensions, propagating through Earth's magnetic field, strengthening over time. The planet itself had become a transmission device, turning Earth into a beacon to summon forth beings from parallel dimensions. They'd exploited weaknesses in physics, enabling them to manipulate reality, unraveling the fabric of existence to feed on the very source of imagination. Back in her lab, Sarah analyzed the data. The answer lay within. Her sensors detected a faint harmonic series, a mathematical progression of tones existing outside normal auditory range. Hidden within these tones was a repeating sequence, coded in quantum entanglements. With sheer determination, she broke the code and uncovered pattern 7. The knowledge sent a chill down her spine. It was a countdown sequence. In her mentor's final notes, Margaret had described convergence, a point where all frequency sources would reach perfect alignment. In 18 months, when the Hollow Ones would have complete access to the harvest, it was the key to everything. If they could stop convergence, maybe they could defeat the enemy. Her thoughts raced. What if the key to stopping this lay in the past? In the location of the first incident, Sarah decided to investigate. She flew to Bristol. There she met Emily Whitmore, a survivor of the 1979 incident. Now an elderly woman, Emily's paintings adorned the walls of her home. They showed the same geometric patterns Margaret had documented in her visions. "I saw it again," Emily whispered, eyes wide with remembered fear. The tall ones with slick black skin and eyes like chips of obsidian. They came from beneath the earth and took some of us away. They showed me art isn't just expression, it's energy they can harvest. Her voice trembled. Those patterns of frequencies, they drew me down into the earth, into myself. I was broken when they took me, but I had my daughter with me. She clutched Sarah's hand, her grip surprisingly strong. I painted my daughter during the strongest frequency. That's when the others came. Their voices boomed in my head. Pure human love created resonance they couldn't absorb. Hope surged through Sarah. If love was the only thing that could repel the Hollow Ones, then it was their greatest weakness. Maybe there was a way to amplify love to stop convergence. She thanked Emily and hurried back to her research. Days turned into weeks as she pored over her findings. Finally, she had a plan, risky, almost reckless. It was her only chance. Sarah knew she might not return, but someone had to try. There was too much at stake. She drove to Taos, her destination, Devil's Throat. Locals called it Whispering Hole, for the strange hum that emanated from its depths. No one dared venture near. As twilight fell, Sarah prepared for her descent. She attached a quantum resonance device to her suit. It was her ticket to the heart of the dimensional breach, a one-way journey. The air grew colder as she descended 300 feet. Suddenly, the shaft opened into an impossible chamber far larger than geology could contain. Glowing crystalline structures pulsed with a sickly green light, their hum combining into a dissonant chorus. Sarah's senses screamed, overwhelmed by what they perceived. From the corner of her eye, she saw movement, tall figures with fluid grace. Their wet stone skin shimmered with veins of metal. Their heads were smooth and hollow, like polished skulls without a single feature. Terror threatened to overwhelm her, but she pressed on, focusing on her mission. One of the Hollow Ones detached from the group. It glided toward her, its dark eyes boring into hers. Its lips thinned into a cruel smile, revealing rows of needle-sharp teeth. Then it spoke, its voice somehow reaching her mind directly. "You seek to interfere with the convergence. Foolish human, your kind has served its purpose. Soon, the veil between realities will dissolve forever. All imaginative human minds will bend to our will." As it approached, Sarah activated her device. The Hollow One faltered, its eyes widening in surprise. "What?" It recoiled, shielding its face. "Why does it hurt?" The question echoed in the vast chamber. Sarah understood now. The Hollow Ones were learning with every harvest, adapting their technology. But she hadn't counted on their adaptability. She hadn't come empty. As the Hollow One cried out, Sarah continued her descent. The crystalline structures hummed with power. Humanity's captured consciousness lay trapped within. Sarah reached out and touched one of the crystals. Images flashed through her mind. Memories of lives lived, dreams dreamed, and stories told. People of all ages and cultures, all creative thinkers whose imaginations had been harvested by the enemy. Sarah felt a surge of righteous anger, of grief and despair, but mostly love for Margaret, for Emily, for all the victims, and for humanity. She closed her eyes and whispered words of hope, of remembrance, of love connecting them all, weaving a tapestry of shared humanity. Remember who you were before the frequency called. Remember the joy of creation, the wonder of imagination, the comfort of human touch. Remember your names, your faces, your stories. Remember the laughter of children, the warmth of family, the embrace of friends. Remember beauty in the world, kindness in strangers. Remember the strength that comes from sharing, the courage to dream, the hope for tomorrow. Hold on to these memories, let them guide you, and above all, remember love, the purest creative energy connecting us all. As her words echoed through the cavern, the trapped consciousness stirred, responding to her call. Memories flickered and strengthened, forming a protective shield around Sarah. She reached out again, this time to touch them all, to help them reconnect with who they once were. More voices joined her, whispers at first, then growing stronger, resonating with echoes of their former lives. Together, they wove a tapestry of sound, a chorus of love and remembrance. The Hollow One recoiled, shrieking in rage and pain. "No," it cried, "you cannot stop convergence. Our harvest is inevitable." Its form flickered, caught between dimensions. With a final surge of strength, Sarah channeled the combined consciousness of hundreds of minds. The chamber shook as the dimensional breach began to seal. The Hollow One screamed in agony as its connection to its own dimension was severed. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the chamber collapsed. Sarah found herself lying on the desert floor, sunlight warm on her skin, birds singing overhead. Devil's Throat was gone. In its place, a jumble of ordinary rocks and dirt. The whispering had fallen silent. The battle was won, but Sarah knew it was only a temporary reprieve. The Hollow Ones had simply been cut off, forced to retreat until they could find another way to bridge dimensions. She had severed their connection, but not their desire to harvest humanity's creativity. She returned to Los Alamos, shaken but resolute. The war between dimensions was far from over. She had to regroup, find a way to defend against the Hollow Ones. She established the Institute for Resonant Creativity, gathering survivors of the attacks and those who believed in her cause. They worked tirelessly to strengthen their defenses, training people to recognize the enemy's presence, hone their abilities, and most importantly, to tap into the collective consciousness, to draw strength from shared experiences and love for each other. Sarah knew the Hollow Ones were out there, studying their failure, planning new approaches. The war between dimensions had begun, but humanity had learned something about themselves. Their creativity was both their greatest vulnerability and weapon, as long as it remained rooted in love, connection, and sharing humanity with others. Instead of serving the ego alone, they would endure,